excuse me. You're good to go, Adee.
Alright, cool.
This is serious, huh?
11:30.
That way, kind of
Alright, we can start now.
Yay!
So, good morning everybody, almost afternoon. This class is learn how to fix and flip like a pro. Let me just ask this before I tell you about myself and my short story. Does anybody here work with investors right now? Alright, so that's pretty good, about half the room. So, my name is Adee. I've been in real estate for 9 years. I just hit the 5-year mark of being a realtor. I used to be a school teacher. Then I was let go, and I had 2 young kids at home who liked to eat. So I had a pressure washer in the garage. Somebody gave me a lawnmower. Now I'm a business owner. Started working for investors, and I went to all of their properties, pressure washing, cutting grass, landscaping, doing whatever I could to make a living for my little family. And I quickly realized that I realized 2 things. One, I could make a lot more money investing in real estate and representing investors. And 2, all of the people, the philanthropists, growing up in my community, I grew up in Nashville, all of those people who I had watched donate buildings or rooms or give a lot of money, 90% of those were in real estate. So I wanted to be in real estate because there's a lot of money there and I could make a lot more than cutting grass. So I partnered with a friend of mine, started buying houses at the courthouse steps. We were flipping them, we were buying them for investors to use as rental properties. And when we were flipping them, we were sometimes working with agents who weren't so good. And my wife got tired of listening to me complain about them, so she said, listen, either get out of the business or get your license. So I didn't want to leave the business. I got my license. I've been licensed for 5 years. I only interviewed here, and I've only worked in this office. So I want to talk to you a little bit about, since half of you already work with investors, I want to talk to you about, we'll talk about why working with investors, where to find investors if you don't have any in your network, how to finance those deals, where to find properties, and what renovations to do, and hopefully we'll have a few minutes for questions. Okay? I would say that please save your questions till the end, write them down on a piece of paper, unless it's just a burning question that you need answered right now. I could probably get through my material in about 15 or 20 minutes and then open it up for any questions that you may have. Any questions before I begin? Okay, great. So why work with investors? I always advise new agents, find 1 or 2 investor clients to work with. 2 reasons. One is you're going to run a lot of comps. An investor doesn't just want to buy a rental property. He or she wants to buy a rental property that already has some equity. So they don't mind paying $100,000 as long as it's worth $110, $120, $150. They want a little bit of equity. Yes, the numbers may work on the rental income, but they are still looking for a little bit of equity. So you're going to run a lot of comps, and you're going to write a lot of contracts. I get a lot, I'm sure that all of you do as well. We all get a lot of offers on our houses. The house could be in really good condition, could be just sitting on the market a little bit too long, but investors think that they can buy it for 50 cents on the dollar. I went under contract on a property last week. It is listed, or yesterday we went under contract. It's listed for $145, and I got an offer this morning after it went under contract for $70,000. I don't know where the logic in that is. I don't know why somebody would spend their time writing that offer, but somebody did. So two things that you can do when working with investors: run a lot of comps and write a lot of offers, and that will help in any part of the business. Because we have to be able to write contracts quickly, we have to be able to run comps, and not just run the comps, but make sure that they're really accurate. So investors will help you do that. Now, where to find investors? Any lower end neighborhoods will often generate leads from investors. So for example, the house that I listed a couple weeks ago for $145, I got a ton of investor calls from that. Most of them are trying to buy the house for pennies on the dollar, but some of them are really serious. They either want to flip the house or they want to add it to their rental portfolio. And in addition, they are, okay. In addition, those, there's a few that came in. Those even the institutional investors are still looking for agents to work with. Some of them have investors they have realtors in-house. 2 or 3 agents who are placing offers on their behalf to tens and hundreds of properties a week, and others are still looking. And I'm sure that many of you have had conversations. Hey, we're investors out of whatever city, or here in the Southeast, or here in Metro Atlanta, and we are looking to purchase X number of rental properties, in the next month, 6 months, a year, whatever it is. So those are people that you can work with if you need business, and those are investors. I prefer the one-on-one investors. For me, I have developed a big network of investors who are looking for rental properties, who are looking to flip. I just don't have enough houses, so that is my personal problem. You can also find investors if you list a distressed property, or a property, let's say that if it were renovated could be listed for $150, $200, $250, $300, whatever, and you're at half of that amount, or 2/3 of that amount, you're going to get a lot of investor clients. So just because a lot of us we're prejudiced on houses, we see a really nice house, we're like, I'm gonna list that house, or this is a great house to list. But if you want to work with investors, take the houses that are less attractive, and then you're going to get a lot of calls on that. You may not make a fortune. If you haven't capped and you're selling a $100,000 house, well, your gross commission is only $3,000. By the time you split it and FMLS fees and all of that, you're coming out with high teens or something like that. But if you get an investor client, then it could be something that you can run with. Maybe that investor client will now purchase 5 houses. Once you cap 5 houses at $100,000, it's $15,000. You do that in 2 months. It's not a bad little salary. Did you have a quick question?
Yeah, and I think it goes right along with that. So what I'm hearing is we have to get the listing in order to attract the investors, correct?
That's one way. So
Okay.
If you have a distressed property, or a property that needs a lot of work, then you're going to get a lot of calls. Your signed calls are going to be from people who want to purchase. They're going to see the house, and nobody, if you're, let's say, driving through Dunwoody, and you see a really nice house, if you are a buyer and you see a really nice house, well, you'll call and say, hi, Ms. Realtor, how much is the house worth? But if it looks like crap on the outside, then you're going to get those investor calls. And just like you pick up buyers from signs, you can pick up investors from signs.
Right, but how would I get in touch with investors if I do not have a listing?
So that's where I was going.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, so you could hold open houses. I've had agents hold open houses for me in houses that are somehow distressed or not in great shape. they're going to pick up buyers and investors in the same way that they do in regular open houses. You can go to networking groups to find investors. I spent many years going to networking groups to look for investors, to look for houses to flip, and there are many that are even run by very talented young people in our office, like our own Vince Crane. You want to give a shameless plug, Vince?
I run a real estate investing meetup that has 1,000 investors in it. So if you guys want to meet investors, I can help you.
And by the way, how much does it cost to attend your meetings, Vince?
Not
It's the
that.
largest free real estate investing meetup in the city of Atlanta.
So that's once a month.
Are you on Meetup?
Yeah, it's on meetup.com.
So talk to Vince after the meeting, and I've been to his meetings. They are really unbelievable. Vince organizes some world-class speakers to come and speak. Somebody came in from Nashville who invests last month. This month, Stan Sugarman is speaking right at the end of this month. So really some world-class speakers, and that's free information and now free drinks. So, so you, in a way, you get paid to learn about real estate. There's another one that I used to go to religiously. It is the Haves and Wants. It's through Atlanta RIA. Atlanta RIA is like the Real Estate Investors Association, and they meet every Thursday from 1:30 until like 3 o'clock, 3:30 at the pub in the Prado.
Oh, Five Seasons Brewery?
Yes, Five Seasons Brewery. You don't have to eat there. They encourage you to eat because the meeting is free. But every week there are people meeting there. Some are having lunch, some aren't, and that's a great way. I spent about 3 years of my life going every single Thursday to that meeting to find investors to work with. I made a lot of money by going there because I found investors. Some of them will flip a house and then say, "Yeah, but how do I list it?" Right here. So I've listed properties for people that I met at that group. So you just have to consistently network with people. And I would go to the meeting, I would show up, I would network with the people afterwards and try to stay as long as I could and give out as many cards as I could. And then contact hard money lenders and traditional lenders. We'll touch on hard money lenders in a second, but contact those people. Even our friends at Supreme that sit in the front, and say, "Hey, who are your investor clients who are very well qualified?" If Supreme says that they're qualified, they are qualified, and if they're qualified for a rental property, well, help them buy it. Find out who those clients of Supreme are, and ask to be put in touch with those. And I'm sure that there are plenty of people who want to buy rental properties that the lenders at Supreme know. If you have a relationship with a lender, contact your lender and say, "Hey, I'm looking to help 3 people buy rental properties by the end of the summer. Who do you know that I can work with?" You're throwing business to the lender. It's time for them to throw business back at you. And a hard money loan, you can contact hard money lenders. A hard money loan is a higher interest, a little bit higher risk loan. It's generally, if you can get a loan for a rental property or an investment property at, let's say, 5.5% today, I think that would be a fair number. A hard money loan is going to be like 10%, 12%, 14%. But if you're flipping it, you're only, someone's only holding it for 6 months. So yeah, it is expensive. There are points. Often it's 2 to 4 points. It is an expensive way to borrow money, but it's a way to get money for the investment property. Other ways to finance are, of course, cash. Cash is king, right? And partnerships. There are people with lots of money in the world.
Are they married?
I don't know. Some of them are, some of them aren't. But you can partner with them. You can say, Mr. Jones, I know that you have money and you are interested in investing in real estate. I know that you work 80 hours a week as a CPA, an attorney, a business owner, whatever it is. Maybe they inherited money. Maybe they have I know somebody specifically that I'm thinking of. She has a lot of money. She does not have any interest in real estate. She has no interest in working in real estate. She does not want to see properties. She does not want to go to the properties. But she does have a lot of money. She will give me this money if I can prove to her that the deal works. Let's say she gives me $200,000. We buy the property for $125. We renovate it for $75, and we sell it for, let's just throw out a number of $275. After closing costs and commissions, by the way, you notice that I did include your commission there. The bottom line, let's just say it's $240, right? You give her the $200 back, and there's now $40,000 in profit. Split it with her. You just made her $20,000, which is 10% on her money in, let's say, 6 months. Where else is she going to make 10% on her money on a flip in 6 months? Nowhere, unless she catches a stock and rides it up and sells it really fast. So just to review those numbers again, you borrowed your private loan or partnership from somebody is $200,000. You renovated for $125. You bought for $125. You renovated for $75. And your bottom line of the settlement statement after closing costs and commissions is $240. You've got $40,000 left. You give the lady back her $200. You give her $20,000, and you're left with $20,000 plus your real estate commission. Yeah.
Is that a good enough turnaround for you? Because I've only ever flipped for like personal homes, so I've never done it for profit and things like that.
I was making those numbers up, but 20%, I'll take that all day long in this market.
Okay.
It's too much competition.
It's only 10% for you. Like that you keep.
I didn't do anything. All I did was work.
Okay. I just didn't know if that was like, okay,
Yeah,
I got you.
I'll take that all day long. 20,000 plus commission on 275. So that's call it 8,000. I just made 28,000 in 6 months. Do that 4 times, and you got a nice little salary.
Okay.
Right? And so I'm going to talk about 2 other things, and then I'll open it up for questions. Where to find properties. Networking again. Go to networking meetings. There are wholesalers all over the city. Many, again, a plug for Vince's other company has a wholesale company that sends out anywhere between, I'd say, 3 and 8 deals a week. Right? Does that sound fair? So probably an average of 5-6 properties a week. There's some good stuff in those lists. I see them, even though it's good. I don't always have access to money, or I'm just a one-man band. I just hired an assistant, so hopefully that will help me ramp up a little bit. But there are deals in Vince's wholesale group. There are tons of Facebook groups out there. I'd say there's a good 5 or 6 quality places on Facebook. Atlanta, local Atlanta real estate pages. Just like we're on like the Rawls Group page on Facebook, that there's also others that are closed group for real estate investors, and you can find properties there. There's lots of wholesalers. Be careful, they will say that it only needs $20,000. I sent my dad a picture this morning. Half the house was falling off, but it only needs $15,000 or $30,000. Cut the crap.
Yeah.
Tell me how it is. I don't mind putting in a lot of work. I don't mind buying a house for $20,000 and putting $150,000. It's all a numbers game. I don't mind buying a house for 150 and putting in 20. I still haven't found a house that I can renovate for 20,000. So, and we'll get to that in a minute. So networking. You can find on MLS, we saw in the stats yesterday, there's only 1% of properties are distressed. Well, you know, if there's 40,000 houses being sold, is that 400 properties, right? All you need is 2 or 3, so find them. You just have to comb through MLS and do a lot of networking. And I promise you that if you are nice to the agent, most of the time, they will choose to work with you over somebody else, because some of these investors are such, I want to use a bad word, but we're not allowed. They are not nice people. And you just call and you say, so-and-so realtor, will you accept an offer of whatever? Are you, this is what we're thinking. Just have a conversation with them. And if they say, yeah, we can, my client will likely let it go for $74,000. Great, go back to your client. Same thing as negotiating. It's just without emotion. It's a non-emotional game. When you work with buyers, I showed 2 houses this morning, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's not in my budget. I gotta tell my wife, and it's not the right house. With investors, no, it's not the right house. Great, okay, bring me another one. And if you're nice to the people, to the other agent, you will win. I've gotten houses just because I'm a nice guy, or at least I play one on TV. And I just try to tell people, hey, we will close. Make sure that you can close. If you can close, you can have and you just have a nice conversation with people, they will sell you the house. So network, where to find properties, networking, MLS, wholesalers we talked about, and then just regular methods of finding properties. If your client likes a certain neighborhood in Dunwoody, or Stone Mountain, or Marietta, or Smyrna, well, just go door knocking. Send flyers. Maybe send flyers and follow it up a week later with door knocking. That's a great way to find investment properties. What's the worst case scenario? No. The next best, you get a listing. I'll take a listing. I'll take any listings. Door knocking, flyers, mailers, signs. We're not allowed to do bandit signs. Those are the little signs that you see at stop signs or stapled to posts. We'll buy your house cash. You're not allowed to do that. But if you know somebody who's not licensed, well, they can do that. Partner with somebody who's not listed. So there's a million ways to find properties. You can search for it on the internet, and you'll find probably 100 different ways to find properties. There's just so many, but those are the main ways that I go about finding them. Networking, MLS, and working with wholesalers. Now, this is really important. I want to talk about what renovations. What renovations should you do if you are either flipping or renting? So let's just start with the rental property real quick. Some people, they say, well, I don't really care. I just want it to be clean. Fresh paint, fresh carpet, make sure everything works. And that's one way to get a property ready to rent. Another way is to do it really nicely. I know somebody, not my client, but I've networked with him before. He buys a lot of rental properties. Now, what does he do? He will go to areas like Stone Mountain, Lithonia, Decatur, different places like that, some of the lower end neighborhoods in Marietta, and he will buy a house and do a full-scale renovation. Brand new kitchen, brand new cabinets, brand new showers, bathrooms, hardwood floors, new roof, new windows, and make it a really, really nice house, as if you were flipping it. What's his rationale behind that? He wants to get a little bit higher class of renter. So if he normally can get 12 or 1300 in that neighborhood, he's going to charge 16 or 1700. Still not going to cover his renovation costs, but the people will likely take care of the house better. So that's two ways to get a house ready for rental. I've had investors buy houses that I list. So we flip properties and an investor will come and buy it. Why? Because they're looking for what's called a turnkey rental property. They don't have to do anything. And in fact, I'll even give them my photos, right? I pay $125, $150, whatever for the photos. I will say, listen, Mr. Investor, if you buy this house, give you the photos, no problem. That way they have the staged photos ready for every time that they have to rent the house out. So that's with regards to a rental property. When I flip houses, which is my primary business, I do everything. We replace the roof, we vacuum the insulation and blow new insulation. We put in new windows, new kitchen, new bathrooms, hardwood floors, open floor plans, insulation and vapor barrier in the crawl space, landscaping, new HVAC, new water heater, new garage doors if it's needed, and definitely openers if it's needed. That's just too cheap not to. But we do everything. The reason for that is I don't want to get an inspection report with 3 pages of repairs at the end. That costs me money because at that point, unless the contractor is repairing the mistakes that he made, which my contractors don't make mistakes, then because we've already made those mistakes over the years and have learned from it, i.e. the installation, and I'll talk about that in a minute, then I have to pay those things out of pocket. For example, let's say we didn't repair the back fence. You know, I didn't see it was broken, but the latch is broken. Well, if I have to send my contractor out to repair that, it's going to cost $100. You know, I can't send him out for less than $100, $150. So that's just money out of my pocket or my investor's pocket. So here's my rationale for doing all of the repairs and doing everything. Number one, I factor it into the budget, so it doesn't matter. As I mentioned before, I don't care, and I bought a house for $30,000 and I spent $75,000 to renovate it. I bought houses, you know, some people say, well, how can you renovate a house for $75,000 if you only bought it for $30,000? I don't really care. It's a numbers game. The number that's important to me is the all-in number. That's what I care about. Can we buy it for $70,000 and renovate for $30,000? Or do we have to buy it for $30,000 and renovate for $70,000? It doesn't matter. You're getting to the same place at the end. And in fact, I'd rather buy it cheap and renovate more because then I have control over the final product. Now, we do all of the renovations for 3 reasons. I'm trying to impress 3 people in the transaction. To impress the homeowner, the home buyers, that's really easy. Open floor plan, kitchen, you know, new kitchen, done. Buyers are ready to move in tomorrow. The realtor, we all know that we can steer our clients away from a house. I showed this house this morning. My client said, what do you think? And I said, I know you really like this house, but I can tell you this is the oldest HVAC system I've ever seen in a house. It will have to be replaced. You know, if the seller doesn't agree to replace it, there's $4,000 to $5,000 out of your pocket. That's a lot of money for this client of mine. So, you know, I just said, let's walk away. Let's find something in the same price range that has a newer HVAC. Doesn't have to be brand new, but for that client, I want him to have a better system. Even he, who's not an expert, looked and he was like, that is old. Literally, it was the oldest HVAC system, the oldest AC condenser I've ever seen. So we're trying to impress the buyers, we're trying to impress the realtor because they will sway. How can we do that? Make sure that the HVAC is new. Make sure that everything looks good, that all the corners are painted nicely, all the lines are sharp, that it's staged, that it's I believe a lot in staging because it helps define the spaces so that we're steering people through the house in the way that we want them to go through. And the last party in the transaction that we have to impress is the inspector, because we all know that an inspector will kill a deal. They will say, you know, this house is no good. The HVAC system is terrible. You should see the amount of cockroaches and feces in the insulation. That's why we vacuum the insulation and blow new. It costs anywhere between, let's say, $1,500 and $2,000 to vacuum the insulation. You're getting rid of dead bugs. You're getting rid of matted down insulation that's not doing anything. And how many times in a transaction did nobody go up to the attic until the inspector went up, and then the inspector goes up and says, there's no insulation, or there are so many bugs in that insulation, it's gross. So, but if the inspector comes down and says, wow, that is the nicest looking attic I have ever seen. I did my job, bam, sold, and then I'll get to the closing table faster. If on a hard money loan, my cost is $1,000, $1,200 a month, and I hold it for another 2 months, well, that pays for the installation. So I might as well just do it right the first time and sell the house. So that's what I have. That's sort of my presentation. We talked about why work with investors, where to find investors, how to finance those deals, where to find the properties, and what renovations to do. I'm sure you have a lot of questions, so shoot. Yes.
Adee, this was awesome, first of all. Appreciate you doing this. Thank you.
Pleasure.
How do you float the money? How do you float the cash? Where do you take the 75K from?
So if you have a private investor, so let's take the case of this lady that I know that has a lot of money, she will give me the 200. Let's say if that's the amount needed for the purchase and the renovation, and that will just sit in the bank account. If she wants to write the checks, she can. You know, we'll do part of the renovation. If she wants to come, or I can show her a video. I've done that. Some of my clients are overseas. I just send them a video. And I say, look, you see, we painted the house. You can see that there's new flooring. The fans were installed.
Okay, so but it never comes out of your pocket. It always gets.
If I am the investor,
Well, then it would come out of your pocket. But in general,
it shouldn't come from my pocket if I'm just a realtor.
Right. Okay. Okay. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
This may be a question for you or Vince. Can you wholesale as agent?
Yeah, sure.
You what?
Yeah.
Can you
I have,
wholesale as an agent?
I have special stipulations that I can even list a property that I don't do. And I've worked with Kathy on that before. It's completely legal. If I get your property under contract and I put a special stipulation that says that I can list it in MLS, I'm going to list it, even though I don't own it. I'm an equity owner.
Yeah.
Adee, in your example of your wealthy investor, presumably they want a security interest. What documents are you using to secure that property once you buy it?
We can put it in your name. We can put it in her name, in the investor's name. So she owns the house. I'm just running the renovation. Same thing as if she were to hire a contractor.
What if it's in your name?
I do that. I have it in my LLC, and then I have a contract with my investors. So if you are my investor, and you are, some of my investors are overseas, so for them there's tax implications, and so I sign a contract with you. I buy the house in my LLC. After I sell it, I get the money back, all in my LLC account. I give you back your principal plus interest.
So they're not secured in that situation.
They don't. Some of them have asked me. Most of them, it's trust. So they trust that I will give them their money back. You could put a lien on the property, or they could put a lien on the property to secure their interest. So at closing, let's say, the proceeds are 150, they would get their 100 back. You'd get your 50 back, and then then split the. I mean, there's ways to do it. It's just paperwork, attorneys.
Then how are you paying your contractor? Is he submitting invoices and you're saying, yes, that's good?
I go see the house. If my main contractor, I've worked with him for 6 years. So if he tells me that he installed the hardwoods, no doubt in my mind that he installed those hardwoods. Any other contractor, I would go, if I would look at, I would make sure that they were installed properly, if they're pre-finished, that there's the quarter rounds or shoe molding around. If they need to be refinished, that they've got all the coats of poly that I want them to have. That the floors look.
Are they giving you fixed pricing on the front end so you know what that hardwood's?
Absolutely.
So-
Yeah. During due diligence or when we're walking through, I can estimate how much it will cost.
Mhm.
But I'll go in and I'll say, this reno is going to be 60,000. Sometimes my contractor comes back and he says, no, it's 80, and that may kill the deal.
And he line items at how he got to 80.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll say, you haven't seen the structural work in the crawl
Right.
space. That's going to take us 4 or 5 days, plus 5,000 of materials.
Yeah.
Have you been able to have work with a contractor, but at the same time been able to put that in a time frame, or if so, not able to meet the time frame, then there is a compensatory clause.
Yeah, I don't have that with my current contractor because he wants to finish it as quickly as possible. Every day that he's on the job costs him X dollars because there's guys and they have to be paid. So he certainly doesn't want to waste his time. He wants to get in and out. He's being paid by the job. If you're working with a new contractor, there are different clauses that you can put in the contract and say, I'm going to pay you $70,000 for this renovation. It needs to be finished by May 1st, not finished by May, and I understand that sometimes it rains and the sheetrock mud doesn't dry and the floors are sticky and it takes a couple more days, and totally get that. I'll give you a week. Depends on the renovation. I'll give you 2 weeks. But by May 15th, if it's not done, then you start paying me $50 a day, $100 a day. I have a guy that happened to, charged him $100 a day and he was 6 months late.
Holy cow, that's a
Well,
cha-ching
6
right
months
there.
late means I didn't work with you
Take your
again.
time, dear.
Yeah.
So, but it costs him to hold the house. I mean, they're in this whole legal battle, so,
Will you share the name of your contractor?
no.
No, are you serious? You wouldn't share?
My contractor only works with me.
Yeah,
I'll share the name with another contractor.
That's fair.
Do you use
That's fair. He doesn't want you calling it. He wants to work on it.
not going in the direction and you don't have.
But I'm harmless.
Are you?
I've never had to.
Oh, why do you give me that?
Most of the time, I'll just say, I have lost money. I've been in a situation where I had the wrong contractor, they didn't do the work, or what I told my investor wasn't right, so I sucked up that loss. One house I lost like 30 grand because the contractor basically just stole money. And
Did you pay him too soon?
he stole from a lot of people. It's a longer story. He was on the news and everything. I got to the job site and that's how I got to my contractor now. I was thanking everybody and they said, well, when are you going to pay us? I said, yeah, but I paid Mike. And they said, yeah, but Mike hasn't paid us. And Mike was sitting in jail for basically robbing tons of people. I lost about 25 grand. And but what I did was brought my checkbook the next day and I started writing checks. And I got to about 25 grand and my account went dry. But my contractor knew that I was honest and trustworthy, and they've been with me for 6 years. So they lost money on it also, on other things that they were working on with him. They were his employees, and I basically just poached them because they were out of job.
So you're the general contractor now?
They are. I just say, here's the house, tell me what it's going to cost. I don't have to put a scope of work together. They know what we want to do. But it's taken me 6 years of working with these guys.
I get it.
Yes.
Do you have any hard money lenders that you would recommend?
Yeah, I've got a few. I can give you those after if you want.
Okay.
I've got some of my cards here. I'll give them to you, and I can send those out or post them on the Peachtree Road Facebook group.
Okay.
Your ARV, does it change by county?
Depends on the neighborhood. I mean,
So
you're running
it's still
comps.
Okay, so it's still based on comps.
Yeah, of course. ARV is after repair value. It's basically what can we sell the house for at the end of the project? Just because I bought it for 30 doesn't mean that that's what it's going to be. Maybe it's worth 250. I bought a house for 67. I sold it for 82, and I walked away with 15,000. I then I sold it to a contractor who flipped it, and we listed it for 250. So there's lots of things that can be done. He knew that the ARV was 250, so when he bought it for me for 82, he put 100 into it. Then he knew that he was still going to make a good chunk of change. Gotta love the West Side.
Love it over there.
Do you, because you're doing so much work, typically investors don't do disclosures. Do you fill out disclosures for your properties when you sell?
Sure, why not? If you ask me for a disclosure, I'll give you one. It's going to have the insurance claims that we filed, which is likely 0. It's going to say that the roof is less than a year old, that the HVAC is less than a year old, when it was built, and what's included in the property. Everything else is no or I don't know. So people say, well, we insist on a seller's disclosure. Okay, you're just making me do paperwork, but I'll do it if that's what it takes to get the sale. It's 5 minutes. And I probably should just do it from the outset and throw it on MLS, because somebody's going to ask me for it. And when I say it's investor owned, the investors never step foot in the property. They say, oh, it's okay, we still want the disclosure.
Right.
For what?
They probably want to see where you have signed off saying the age of everything. I've wanted that before for that reason.
It does make me.
It's fine.
So-
I'll give it to you. I don't have a problem with it, but it's not going to.
Well, like on the buyer's side, even if it's an investor owned, it doesn't mean you don't know anything about the house.
Mhm.
You'd have paid to fix things, so you would know if the roof was leaking and you had to fix it.
Yeah, but that's
But
what I'm
so-
saying. The roof is new, the HVAC is
Everything
new.
is new.
But if it
Everything-
was
Right.
leaking before
Right,
you
yeah.
replaced it, yeah.
But like in your case, everything may be new, but not in all
There's some
cases.
investors,
There's some
yeah, there's
investors who
some.
say no disclosure because they
Yeah,
don't want to
I
tell you
agree.
what's wrong with the property.
I get
And
it.
then buyers are like, they may like the house, but they don't want to take the risk.
Sure.
It makes the buyer feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
Guys,
I
if
get
you're
it.
comfortable.
Because then they're paying out of pocket for a hella inspections then to make sure that they're protected.
Any other questions?
How many are you doing? A year, a month, or?
So right now I have 5 at various stages. I have 2 on the market, 1 almost finished and 2 being renovated. Looking for 1 more before June 1st. I'm up to about 96 that I've done in my life. Total. Either me or my partner.
Do you do multi-family?
No.
Why not?
It's 24 hours in a day. I yesterday hired someone who's going to get licensed, and she's going to help me serve my clients who want to buy rental properties. I turn people away all the time, and that's a ton of money, because even if we buy at 100,000 and it's 3% and we're splitting it, there's still a renovation that we spend money on. There's the referral to a property manager. My property manager is fantastic, and he gives me like a cut of the first month's commission or the first month's rent, because that's what he gets. So last week I referred a client, got $800, so it's not bad. So it's just money I'm leaving on the table. Other questions about working with investors, where to find them, financing, anything like that? Yeah.
I believe you said you may have discussed this, and if you did, I can talk to you after class, about finding the money, like where to get.
Yes. So, just briefly, we talked about it. You could do cash. So if you have cash, then you can certainly buy it. You can partner with somebody who has money. For example, if Jim has money and he wants to diversify, then he can give you the money, you can flip the property, and then you split the proceeds at the end. I do it 50-50. Sometimes they say, well, listen, if I'm putting up all the money, then it's gotta be 60-40. It's just a negotiation. And then there's hard money loans, which are higher interest, more points, but usually short term, and they're from institutions or individuals that are willing to make loans, riskier loans, but they're taking the chance.
What percent of the time would you say you finance? Not hard money, but maybe traditional.
I've only helped with one flip that was a purchased with a traditional mortgage. They actually purchased it as a rental property loan, renovated it, and sold it. Lenders don't like that because it costs them money at the front end, so they don't like. That's why hard money lending is preferable for private money, because you could do that once, you could do it twice. At some point, they'll see that you are flipping houses when really you said that it was to be for a rental property. So they'll bust you at some point.
Will hard money loans get you maybe more in purchase power than a conventional loan? I have no idea.
Yes, because you can call it
The
cash.
cash, right? We just say you're.
For example, let's say someone, I don't know, maybe someone in this room would purchase a home with hard money and then just a little down the road refi to get that better interest rate. Would you get more purchase power up front? And by purchase power, I mean money loaned to you.
I think in theory, yes. But I think that if you're working, let's just say you're working with Supreme, you could go through the entire underwriting process and be fully qualified, and then have a 0 on your financing.
Oh, I mean for amount of money.
Yeah, I mean you could say they could pre-qualify you for $200,000 and then just put 0 on the financing and say, listen, I am fully pre-qualified.
If Supreme only gives me $200,000, would a hard money lender potentially give me more than that?
I see what you're saying, like
I don't care about financing
to purchase it and to renovate it.
Right.
Right. So yes, you could potentially get more with the hard money lending. You gotta understand it is a shorter term. So once you've renovated it, you then become your own buyer. So you're going to Supreme to get a conventional
to refi for a better
Now
interest
the
rate.
question is, will you qualify for whatever that ARV is, or whatever you're purchasing it for?
I see.
You have to be able to. You have to make sure that conventional loan will cover whatever you borrowed from the hard money lender.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because then when taxes come out for 2015, then I can refi 3 months down the road.
Yeah.
Once the country knows that I made more this year than the last 2 years. Okay, heard.
I would
Just trying to make things happen in
still
October.
do a renovation loan.
Renovation loan, heard. Okay.
Yeah. You're gonna get a better rate.
Okay.
It's going to cost you a ton of money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you're going to pay, a hard money lender is going to take 2 to 4 points, most likely 4 points. It's anywhere between 10 and 15 or 16%, most likely 12, 13, 14. So do the math.
It's huge. It's expensive.
2 to 4 points, 13%. Like,
What do you mean by 2 to 4 points?
if the loan amount, it's 2 to 4% of the loan amount. So if you borrow $200,000 and they're charging you 3%, 3 points, so it's $6,000.
Over a period, on monthly basis?
No, upfront.
Upfront. So
It's just
two-
part of your closing costs.
Okay, so 2 to 3 point just upfront to disperse that money. Okay.
Before you even pay for the insurance policy and
Right,
attorney fees, title insurance, and everything else that it costs.
Right, and then the amount of like the interest, is that still paid on monthly basis?
You're paying on the debt.
Right, but on monthly basis?
Yeah.
And that's like typically right now it's like
So say-
14%.
Anywhere, I pay 10, I usually do 10 and 2, but I have a lot of flips under my belt. So they don't have a problem.
They're gonna stick you as a newbie. You're gonna get the
Yeah.
higher rate,
Yeah.
obviously. So
They're
you're
gonna
gonna
be
be looking at
They don't
12 to
know you.
14% as a newbie, higher points, obviously. The more experience that you have under your belt and the more experience you have with that particular hard money lender, because you're building a rapport, you'll start to get better rates.
Usually after 3, 4, 5.
1 second.
They see that you're buying, quickly selling, good renovation, no complaints. They'll do deals with you all day long, but they just need to first learn to trust you.
You have to pay for that trust.
Most of them,
A lot of money.
Everything costs in this country,
You
man.
gotta pay for that trust.
What is
It
it?
costs anyway.
So what does it take to get a loan from them?
Just a lot of paperwork, a lot of pushing.
They don't.
There's a lot of hard money lenders out there. You just have to find, just like some people like to work with Supreme, some people like to work with Bank of America. I don't know who those people are, but you know, everybody has the lender that they like working with, Fidelity or whatever.
So it's not income based, it's asset based. You don't have.
Sometimes.
Some-
It depends on the lender.
Partially, I mean, they still need to see, hey, you're making, you know, 50,000 a year, 80,000 a year, 200 a year, you know, but it's mainly based on the property. So if you're trying to get a $200,000 loan on a $150,000 property, there's no way they're going to be that much. Yeah, then.
Where are you,
I'll come back to you. Is that okay?
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, go ahead.
where are you mostly buying?
Where?
Yeah, sorry if I missed
Anywhere.
it.
Last year we did Woodstock, Canton,
Well, I mean, like.
Covington,
Not as far
Palmetto.
as location, not
All
as far as
over.
location, but where are you finding most
Oh,
of your?
you missed
most
the
of your
first part.
Yes, I did. I can talk to you after.
Yeah.
If that's
That's
the
okay.
case.
Basically, networking, MLS, wholesalers, and then just the regular methods like flyers, door knocking, you know, just however you find properties. There's also what's called driving for dollars. So you can drive through a neighborhood and say, wow, that's a gorgeous house. That's a gorgeous house. Ooh,
Yeah.
that one's bad. Or, yeah, some old person's living in that house, and
They may die.
you know somebody's inherited that house, or you know, and you can tell because it's overgrown, old windows, the roof is shot. You know, they've got a garden in their gutters. Yes, sorry, I didn't mean to skip over you.
I'll just come get your card.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I'll be happy to hand out my cards, as well as my wife's card. My wife is a home stager. She does mainly vacants, so vacant home stagings.
Who's your wife?
Ilana with Ilana Home Staging. I'll give you her card as well.
Okay, cool.
Shameless plug, just because I thought about it.
That's so cool.
All right? Yes. Thank you all for coming. Have a great day.
Thank you, Adee. That was awesome.
Yeah, sure. Be glad to.
Hi, Muffin, how are you? Okay.
I was trying to think of it.
I love these adventures. You knew there was a double.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I get it. I don't want to say stuff. I'm like, oh, it's okay.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hi, honey. You're excited ever. Me too. And like I was looking at it. I was like, I can go to
Flipping more. One, if you're already interested, don't go with that house. And two,
I don't have any cards on, so I can give you my
So they're like,
phone number or
oh,
email.
Laura's
All of, that's what you need to do.
I'm not saying that's good, but it's just like,
When you meet,
it's a little bit.
I will.
Sometimes Joe, you have nothing going on.
About my house, and I never got he has another business outside of this.
Oh, no, no.
What about you?
Nashville. I lived in Israel
He's on
for
Facebook.
7 years.
Okay. Alright, so I was thinking.
And I live with a French woman.
Yeah.
I see. Did you get your status? What's the I need to go. I really want to.
I love you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Last week.
Oh, cool. Which,
The last event. The one I heard it here.
She's going to it today? Okay.
Oh, you gotta understand that
okay.
particular market.
I know she's in that area.
That was a part of that conversation.
That was, Courtney Newton. That was a good one.
Just don't call her and say, yo,
Right, unless, see, this is,
we'll do that all the time. She's like running on
This next Wednesday.
the one doing this.
It's insane. She moved warehouses, bought all this stuff, and it's gone.
I'm doing it on
Chill.
And the rest take that same,
I
reflip it,
stress, yeah.
go back into a property. Then you don't,
I'm
you
gonna
still
go
get
to
taxes on it.
that.
Yes, I think it's 1031. I think it's more, Eric is
Yeah.
more.
But eventually, if you take it out.
Eventually you do, yes,
Yes, okay.
correct. Right. But most of the way she was saying it, most people were thinking on every